Senator Robert Toricelli.
With you, Mrs. Rajavi, a pleasure to be with you as well, and to friends and colleagues. Many of us were there that day in Paris. For us personally, there is comfort and satisfaction knowing that those who would have taken our lives have been held to account. But while we are grateful to the authorities in Germany and Belgium and France, the law enforcement officials, the judicial process for bringing justice, we all know that justice is incomplete. Long before the first Russian bomb struck the Ukraine, an Iranian bomb was en route to Paris to take our lives and those of the diaspora, and most importantly, Mrs. Rajavi, to silence her voice in opposition to the regime and in her efforts to bring freedom and democracy to Iran. Now the question remains, well, these individuals have been held to account, those who held the dagger. What of those who gave the orders, concocted the plan, conceived the crime, who still sit safely in Tehran? The international community needs today to take note that while there is justice, it is incomplete justice. The same diplomatic corps which planned a terrorist bombing in Paris still has embassies in Europe. The same officials who would have taken my life and those of my colleagues and Mrs. Rajavi still sits at a negotiating table with the United States and other powers. There is no justice without holding accountable the very regime that would have taken our lives. And so today we call upon the governments of Europe to reconsider, as certainly as they don't want to be buying oil from a regime that is invading Ukraine. Do they want embassies from a country that would have flouted their laws, taken the lives of their citizens, exploded a bomb in the very heart of Europe? The United States government, what value in reaching a diplomatic accord on nuclear weapons with a regime that would use its own diplomats through the same agencies that negotiate with you now to take the lives of former government officials from our government and our allied government? Even if you reach such an accord, what credibility could it have? What value? I recognize that there is a limited capacity in the world for the number of crises that can happen simultaneously. And as certainly as the world wants to confront Russia over the Ukraine, it would like to discard the problems with Iran. But the problems with the regime in Tehran are not subsiding. They are rising. And they are not less important. They are just as important. A terrorist government abusing people in Asia is just as important as one that is doing so in Europe. I ask the Biden administration to reconsider its drive for an accord with a government that cannot be trusted, an accord that would have no value, to be certain that terrorist elements within that regime remain on our terrorist list, from the Revolutionary Guard to the individuals in the government itself, and that Europe take note of what has happened here today. The courage of the police officers, the integrity of the courts and of the prosecutors and of the witnesses needs to be matched by the courage and the commitment of the governments themselves. And then finally, to all of us, who all these years have committed our lives, our voices, our efforts to freedom for the Iranian. It's important in the wake of this verdict to realize something else that had happened here. For those who doubted where the future of Iran may lie, who has the strength and the credibility to challenge the regime? Who has the resources, the drive, and the support? The Iranian government could have chosen many targets, but it chose one because there is one threat to the regime with the resources, the drive, the focus, the credibility, the support around the globe, both in the Iranian diaspora and in the larger community. That's the MEK, and it's Mrs. Rajavi. They struck at us and they struck at her for a reason, and they weren't wrong. The threat is here. We are the threat. She is the future. So for all of us, we redouble our efforts and our commitment as we call upon our own governments that we admire to take a stand today and recognize the uniqueness of what has happened here. Congratulations again to the court. I am proud of the integrity of the European courts and the systems that have held firm in the face of threats and terrorism to reach justice. Now I hope our elected officials and our diplomats exhibit the strength, focus, and integrity. Thank you all very much for allowing me to be with you.